Hi, everybody. It's Sandra. Here I am in a bit of a quiet space here in my room and continuing to sit with the surge of all things that are moving through me that I'm sensing into so deeply, that I'm observing very acutely, and that my dog needs to leave the room here for a minute, so I might as well do that before I get started here. Okay, see, things like this just never, well, they're never going to go as you hope, but you do your best with it. So there's been a lot of things happening energetically in our atmosphere. It's not like it's just happening. It's been happening pretty much our whole life, but we're just kind of maybe starting to attune to these frequencies a little bit more specifically because it's being amplified by all things global now, right? And we're watching what I feel is a true ripple effect of a frequency vibration that just pulses out from each of our cells, from the nucleus of our being. And prior to what's been presented here before our eyes over the last 6 weeks, there's been a lot of individuals that have always kind of felt the sensations of these frequencies and have been reconciling with that, and have probably most likely often felt isolated or alone. And I don't want to use the word different, but I will for the moment, just because I have a whole different perspective of this word different, because I've bought into that whole normal different for too long myself. And I've since, washed away the attachment of any human attributes around what we call different and normal. But for the sake of what I like to share is for people that have mostly all their life been attuned to sensitivity and frequencies, they've often felt alone because the rest of the world has been seemingly asleep. And anybody that even spoke about feeling sensitive, as I kind of shared in my last video, is anytime somebody dares to speak of something that hasn't maybe made breakthrough news based on whatever somebody wants to call the news today, tomorrow, or the next day, almost goes about it alone. They have to seek their tribe so that they can feel comfortable within themselves and not feel like they're going a little loopy because nobody really understands them. And what I'm noticing more now, at least again, I'll say this in every video, I can only always speak for myself. It's the only truth I have is my own experiences. I can see more now just how sensitive I've been my whole life. And we have, as a human species, conditioned that word and boxed it as any other label, sadly, as if it's wrong and it's bad and it's different. And then we attach sensitivity to the notion of emotion, that, oh, you're just so sensitive. And it's like amazing how quick people will deflect something of that nature out of fear of their own inability to really want to understand it, feel it, or what it may awaken in them. And this may be true for anything that disturbs the nest inside that's comfortable. It's like, don't rattle the snake, don't awaken the serpent, because we don't know what's coming out of it if we even open our eyes and minds to anything outside of what we know we can for sure feel comfortable with. And there takes a level of courage, daring, vulnerability, strength, knowing, truth, wisdom, insight, experience, willingness to forge a path, to go alone, because the cost of not doing any of that is far more detrimental to the seeding of the soul within us if we ignore it. And we as a culture are so easily able to numb, to suppress, to avoid, to blame, to project. Anything that we are not ready to hear, receive, explore, question, dare, because the root is the fear. And as I continue, just even every time I bring myself into this space, this sighing, this feeling within me is bringing like this, I don't want to say intensity as in like it's intense, like in a perceiving like bad way, because again, right, we say any word and we have to start going, is it good or is it bad? Does she mean this? Does she mean that? And then we all of a sudden go back to, well, what does that intense mean? Because when I'm intense, this is how I feel. So it's so interesting, the art of language, and how we have to continue to ensure that as we are articulating what it is we're learning within ourselves and learning to express and discerning and distilling, that we're as clear as possible. As I divert for a moment in saying that, when I come here and speak, I never know what it is I'm going to talk about. That might sound crazy for some. That might totally resonate for other people. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that I've given myself this space freely to trust in what it is my soul feels it needs to bring out. Not my head, not my thoughts, not my concerns, not my worries of judgments, not my need for perfectionism. My only thing is continually to align to the space of deep inner truth of my soul. And there's a level of intensity that comes with that for me. It's this longing, this almost as if it's been bubbling up my whole life, and now it's like there's a place for it to breathe. I'm giving it more space, and I've expanded the cavity of my own soul to kind of usher out what it needs to say. There's no logic in this, you guys. The soul is the soul. It has its own knowing and message, and the more we stay aligned in that space to hear it, we just trust it. And it's not going to make sense to maybe you or people I personally know in my small circle of community. That's okay. This is a process of learning to unfold in the most aligned way for ourselves. And when I bring any message forward, not knowing what I'm going to bring, I literally just know that there's a moment to share. And if I sit and ponder and try to contemplate exactly what I want to say, then I've just mitigated the essence of this truth that wants to speak freely. Now, I'm not suggesting that if somebody has to do some preparation or outline things, that there's anything wrong. Again, let's not look at this as any right or wrong, good or bad of any kind. It's just different for all of us. So my truth of expression is an invitation to have you find your truth of expression. I always want to bring a mirror of my own experiences forward to allow other people to experience themselves in the most aligned way, honest, integral, authentic, transparent way that they are here to be for themselves first and foremost. That's where the deepest truth is. There will be people that totally get that. There'll be people that say, oh my gosh, you're from total Mars. And I've heard it all. And I've reconciled with everything. And it doesn't dehumanize me. It doesn't take me out of my emotions and worries. And it doesn't say that I've reached some transcendent place. Not at all. If anything, what I've come to see and observe is that I'm able to watch it all play itself out. I see when I'm in the seeming movie that, is referred to as a metaphor in the space of many ascending conversations. We're watching the movie. I got to sneeze, I think. Anyway, so I'm watching it all. I'm watching everyday life here as a mom, learning how to juggle this impassioned soul that feels beyond driven to bring forward what is moving through her. At the same time, creating as much space that I'm able so that I can be quiet and still, as much as be in the flow and allow my emotions to move me as they're meant to. And when I fall so short, which I often do, and I've learned to be less and less critical over the years and more understanding of this deconditioning process that takes a lot of time. I'm watching continued layers shed from me, and this global magnitude impact that we're feeling on a frequency level is all of us now having to bring this as most back home first. Yes, we can watch what is happening outside and be angered and infuriated and delusional and submissive, whatever. Again, everyone is going to see it from the lens in which their level of consciousness is ready to see it. That's really what it comes down to. It's not about convincing. It's not about anything. It's the more we let the external mirror back to us internally what it is we are most needing to first heal within us, and keep paying attention to our inner narrative, our inner stories, the inner BS, what we've bought into, why we're so triggered. I was triggered last night with my daughter with bedtime. I wrote a poem on it. You know what? It's easy to just hide that and say, oh, yeah, who needs to hear that? Nobody really. But my soul needs to express that. And if it should be received to somebody else and give them a little bit of like, oh, then that's great. But I'm much freer for releasing that. That's one less virus I'm going to suppress inside of me, and then let that virus, if you will, metaphorically, be amplified and triggered by the world that's, being affected by the virus. And that word is so interchangeable. The word virus is so interchangeable. We can use that in so many different ways in our life. If we just let it be just that, let it be a metaphor for the viruses within your own life that need to be attended to, that need to be nourished and cleansed and detoxed and purified. Start there. Forget the propaganda of what you've been told up till now about how things have to look in order to meet the standard of another's perspective of you. This is what I believe is a really great message that we're all being asked to decondition down to the cells of our own being, okay? Down to the cells of our own being. The more we stay attuned and aware of what's happening inside of us, we will emanate externally. The more we ingest what is external, we will ingest and we will feed the virus within us internally. These things work very cooperatively. If we let them serve us in our highest good, that can be an incredible magnetic wave of consciousness that supports the healing of all of us collectively. I don't know what I'm going to see in my lifetime from this moment on. I don't know how much of any part of my soul's work is going to make this bit of an impact or this big of an impact. It doesn't matter. The ego wants it to kind of matter. It kind of wants to know people are getting it. But the soul in me personally says, just keep doing you, Sandra. Share you. Share the voice of what you know to be true in you and allow that to bring whatever clarity, whatever permission, whatever it is another may need to feel, hear, sense, and resonate with to move them even closer into their own truth. But my truth is my truth. Your truth is your truth. You'll never walk my experience. I will never walk your experience. We all have our own journey. That's the beautiful thing. And now kind of indirectly, because I never know what I'm going to say in these videos, talking about different, we have homogenized sameness in this world. So kind of coming full circle, because I told you, I don't know where my conversations are going to go. The sensitivity is we're all different, you guys. We've always been different. But we've been told, taught, and pretty much, passively acquiesced to this conditioning mindset that we're all the same. And if somebody were to dare be an ounce of themselves, truly, that feels really odd. And this, to me, what we're experiencing is one of the greatest, most divine universal invitations and opportunities that's saying, please, my people of the world, will you get back to home? Will you return to you and start being more of the authentic you, because this world needs your individuality, and empower yourself in this moment of time. And if that empowerment is experienced through an emotion of anger or a sense of trigger or whatever, let it happen. Everything can move us as long as it kind of moves us, I would say, in a frequency of evolution and growth. But I'm not judging or condemning that in that movement you might experience the detoxification of the pain that has to cleanse. And so it's not going to be just like, oh, I'm awakened. That makes sense. I'm healed. You got to go through the process. I'm going through it all the time. I've been doing this work of consciousness steadily since my daughter was about 5. Steadily. My whole life, though, when I look at my life's path and journey and I understand the work of human design and gene keys and everything else intricate to my own cellular consciousness, I've come here to do this work in measurable ways that my brain would never have understood if someone told me 20 years ago, Sandra, this is what you're going to go through. This is the path. This is what's going to awaken you. Oh, and by the way, on this date, you're going to sit and talk about this, and you're going to have had this episode that happened last night so that you can refer to that. And then, are you kidding me? Give me a break. There's no way I would have been ready to understand all that. So I do believe that when we're ready to receive, we will come to believe what it is our soul has always been asking of us to show up for. And right now, it's being done in such a collective way because we have contaminated and polluted the consciousness of this human species in ways that have taken us out of our inner truth. And there is not going to be this one size fits all way of undoing it. This whole one size fits all, everyone's the same. No. Okay, that's just my truth of no. You could say, well, that's the most ridiculous thing you've heard. Okay, we can agree to disagree. That's totally fine, and I get that. I'm not here to convince anybody. What I've come to find for my own self, I would just say, so long as you believe what you believe, then great. Then stay substantiated in that based on whatever that is, and always stay open to continuing to explore and discover the unfolding truth of the true self within you. Because every moment I'm still doing that. I've come to watch my own evolution, and some of the things I'm awake to today, 13 years ago when I got married, my own husband has said, you're definitely not the same person. And I can't believe you're even entertaining this conversation because a decade ago, you were so black and white. And I was extremely. I even wrote a meme the other day, and I'll share it in my time, but I wrote that there was at one point I was a black and white thinker. And now through transformation and awakening and evolution and whatnot, I've become more colorful. I'm playing more colorfully in the gray. I've accepted that. I'm not blocking myself in a pattern of, oh, I never believed that 10 years ago, and I just can't believe that now. Really? How does evolution happen? We have to keep having breakthroughs. If we're going to get back home into the depths of our soul to remember who we truly are. Because all this other stuff is just layers of crap that we've ingested. Okay? That's why our children are so authentic till we almost unfortunately de-authenticize them, if that's even a word. We inauthenticate them. I think that's the better word. We inauthenticate them through everything personally. And I can guarantee just in my own path of shedding skin, I haven't done an ounce of it like where I feel, I haven't affected my kid. Of course, I'm willing to go back and clean up my crap. I'm willing to go back and recognize and reconcile with the residue I've left. I'm willing to admit and take responsibility for the crap that I've contributed and contaminated into her energetic space. I'm willing to own it. I'm willing to call it out. Okay? I'm not saying this because, oh, well, God, well, look at you, Sandra. Haven't you just figured it out? I'm not at all suggesting that. I say this because I can sense when people are going to jab and they're going to poke and prod because they are triggered. I get it. All I'm saying is speaking truth is not to hear your own little fairyland of it, or to come across as if you figured it out, or that you've got all the answers. No, truth to me is an ever unfolding path. So long as I'm in this life, I will be seeking truth first for me. And then as I feel called in the purpose of that to share and help other people to seek their own truth and be empowered individually, then perhaps I'm serving more of a deeper layer that my soul is saying it's time to bring forward now, Sandra. Let go of all the other stuff. Trust your soul. Okay, I'll leave it there. Again, I never know where these conversations are going to go. If I would have thought through this, I'm sure it would have been a whole different direction, but that's okay. This is what was meant to move out of me. This gives freedom to my own journey of sharing and trusting and staying very aligned and integral to the work I wish to bring forward and the voice of vessel. I love to say that, I'm the voice and vessel of vulnerability, not because it sounds great, but that's because there is a deep truth of the more I become the voice and vessel of vulnerability for me, then hopefully that is a frequency and a bandwidth that stretches out and invites other people as well to maybe align to for themselves, not mine, for you. There's a million teachings out there. I was going to say 1,000, but I feel like there's millions of teachings out there. Everyone has something to say, and it's as important to them as it is to the person that's willing to hear it. Okay? Don't hold your voice back, and be really aligning to what it is you are deeply called to share. And if that takes some practice, because there's no right or wrong, good or bad of any kind, then you'll just trust what's meant to come out will come out as it's called. Okay? Sending all my love. Thanks again, as always, for joining me. I'm grateful, and we'll be in touch. Bye.